Hello everyone, welcome back to 100 Days of Coding with Derrick-Redeemer. This is still day 33 and we are in part 2, and this topic is CSS Selectors. In part 1, we learned about the universal selector and the element selector. Those selectors are very useful, but sometimes we don't want to style every element of the same or of the same type. For example, what if we only want to style the welcome message, or only the logo image, or only the contact form? That is where class selectors and ID selectors become very powerful. Let's continue. So we have a selector, the third selector, that's class selector. Class selector. So when you talk about a class selector is used when you want to style one or more specific HTML elements. A class selector always begin with a dot. For example, this one here, so we can write something like this. So let's say we want to, there's something below. So let's say we want to write something like this. So a dot, my class. So let's say my class. So my class, let's say the element is what, like that. That's the name of what, of the element. This is what a class selector. Notice the dot before the class name. Without the dot, CSS will think you are selecting an HTML element instead of what, a class. All right. So now let's try to apply a class selector to our code. So here, let's use the class that already exists in our project. So we are going to open about.html. Locate this code. So here, let me clear this one from here. Then we are going to locate a particular code, line of code in the about.html. So here, so the about.html, we are going to locate what? The logo. So the logo, where's the logo? Located, that's about, right? So the logo. Where's the logo? Okay, so we have it here. So this one here. So class is equal to what? Logo, then image. So that particular one here. We are going to use what? That one. All right. So let me clear this one. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. So here, notice that the class is equal to what? Logo image, logo then hyphen what? Image. Now open your style.css and add. So the style.css, where is it? So the style.css, you are going to what? The class is what? Dot. So dot logo, then what? Hyphen image. So image. Then let's say the border radius. So border radius, let's say the border radius is 20 pixels. So you are going to add what? Border radius. So border radius, let's say 20 pixels. So 20 pixels. Then let's say the border. So border. Let me clear this one from here. Then you have what? Border. Then let's say 4 pixels. Let's say 4 pixels. Then what? Solid. So I'm going to clean this one from here. Then introduce. Let's say I said we'll do this thing here. So then here. So save your file, refresh the browser. Now the logo image has rounded corners and what? A blue border. So if I open my live server, I should see something like that. Hope you can see. Hope you can see. So that's it there. Hope you can see. All right. I can equally change what this one to, let's say, so then the navigation is blue. I don't want blue now. So I want none. So none. So let's say this one we want to increase it to, let's say, 50 pixels. So if I refresh my browser, I should see something round like that. So I can equally the color. I can say not none. So let's say, so the more the bigger the pixel, the smaller the distance becomes. So let's say 100 pixels. So let's say 100 pixels. If I open, I should see something round. So so sorry, did I say so here we are talking about what? Border. So meaning the bigger the pixel, the round the distance becomes, the image becomes. So I can write something like, let's say 150. If I open, I should see something round like this. Do you get it? So we are going to use this our website for that. Now why should we use classes? Classes are reusable. When you talk about classes, they are reusable. Imagine your website has 5 different images. If they all use class is equal to logo hyphen image, then one CSS will style all of them. This saves time and keeps your code organized. Now let's go to the fourth selector. That's ID selector. When you talk about ID selector, an ID selector styles one unique element. It begins with a hash symbol. Symbol. So for example, let's say we have something like this. So let's say example, we have something like this, hash, then hero. So hero, then hero, like this one here. So something like this. All right. So unlike classes, an ID should normally be used only once on a page. So now we are going to add an ID to our website. So we are going to open the index file. So index.html. So look at where this one is located. Let me see. Welcome to my portfolio. So welcome to my portfolio, that particular one here, or welcome to my website. So welcome here. May I save it? Welcome to my portfolio. So this is H1. So here I'm going to ID. So let me introduce the ID. The ID is equal to welcome title. Let's name it that way. So ID is equal to let's say welcome title. So welcome or title. So title. welcome what title. Do you get it? So now you are going to open what our CSS and add what our CSS file and add this the ID. So I told you the ID should begin with what a hash. So that's what. So what's the ID name? That's welcome to what? Welcome title. So welcome what title. Do you get it? So here we can change the font size. So let's say you want to change the font size. So here these ones are not needed yet, but you can include if you want to add. So let's say 48 pixels. So 48 pixels. Then let's say we want text transform. Let's say uppercase. Here. So text transform. Then that's what uppercase. So now save your save your file, refresh what the browser, and only the heading changes to what uppercase. That is because IDs are meant for unique what element. Here. So now let's go to our page and see. Now you can see clearly. So we can see. Here. All right. So this one has changed totally to what an uppercase. Here. So there is no need for you to what write everything or write it in what in capital letters. Here. Now let's look at class versus ID. Many people get confused of these two. Remember this simple rule: class starts with what a dot. It can also be what used many times. Can also be perfect for reusable what designs. Example is what the dot that I showed. So we have what dot is equal to what, sorry, dot then button. So dot you have what button. Here this is what an example of what an ID, sorry, a class what selector. Here then we can also have what we can also have so sorry, when you take the ID starts with what a hash. Use one per what page. Here perfect for unique sections. So example, that's what, let's say header. So H, sorry, that's a H hash. So let's say header. So header. So something like this. That's what an ID was selector. All right. So we are going back to our thing. Now we have the feed selector too. We have another selector, which is what group selectors or group selector. Yeah, when you talk about it, sometimes different elements should have exactly the same style. Instead of writing separate CSS rule, we can group them together. So example, instead of writing what H1, so let's say instead of writing H1, then this, then we come to what H2. So let's say H2, then this. Instead of writing them, we can equally have what group selector. So meaning this particular one here, this one here, what do I do? I only need to select what the ID. Sorry, I only need to select what them in group. So here then H2, H3. Here so H2, H3, H4, then paragraph and so on. Here. So meaning everything that I do here, anything that I do here will reflect on on whatever I've selected. Here. All right. Now, so let's do something here. So we are going to apply our applying group selectors to our website. So let's style them together. So add this one. So I think we did that one already. Okay, we didn't do it. So we are going to style them. So let's do something here. So H1, then H2. Here. Then we have the brush. So this. Here. So let's say the font size. So here I want to clear this one from here and introduce font family. So let's say font family, then then Arial, then sans serif. Here. Then let's say margin button. So let's clear this one from here and go to margin button. So let's say margin button. Let's say 15 pixels. So let's say that way 15 pixels. Here. So if you open your web browser, you see something like that. So here, supposed to come. Yes. Now you can see here. You can see clearly. When you go here to the same thing applies to that place. So here there is no H1 and those things here. Here. All right. Now let's look at some real life example here. So imagine you are painting a school. Some classrooms should be blue, some should be green, some should be yellow. Instead of painting every classroom individually, you group similar classrooms together. CSS group selectors work the same way. One rule style with multiple elements. Now let's look at keep this in mind. Professional developers use universal selectors for resetting styles. Element selectors for general styling, class selectors for reusable designs, ID selectors for unique sections, group selectors to reduce repetition. Using the right selectors or selector makes your CSS cleaner and easier to maintain. Now let's look at some common mistakes we make. Mistake 1: forgetting the dot when using a class selector. Always don't forget the dot. Mistake 2: forgetting the hash when using an ID. So always don't forget the hash. Always remember to bring it. Mistake 3: using the same ID on multiple elements. ID should normally be unique. So if you use ID is equal to title or intro or this, you make sure you don't use it for any other element as well. So use classes if you want to style multiple elements. Mistake 4: writing separate CSS rule when a group selector would make the code shorter. Always look for opportunities to organize your CSS. So here you are going to create a mini project here. You open your website that your file or your folder or your project. Complete the following tasks. Add a class to one of your images. Style it with a border and rounded corners. Add an ID to your welcome heading. Increase its fonts. Use a group selector to style both heading 1 and heading 2 using headings. Save your work and refresh the browser. Observe how each selector affects different parts of your website. Today we have learned class selector, ID selector, group selector, the difference between class and ID of selector, how to apply selectors to our websites. Excellent work. Today you have learned how to target specific elements on your websites using class ID and group selector or selectors. You now have much greater control over the appearance of your website. In day 34, we will learn about colors in CSS. We'll explore named colors, that's hex colors, RBG, RGBA, and HXL. Then use them to give our website a modern and attractive color scheme. Thank you for joining day 33 of 100 Days of Coding, journey with Derrick-Redeemer. Keep learning, keep practicing, and keep coding. I will see you in day 34. Happy coding.